Are we live? We are live! Hello, 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 and welcome to episode 11 of Talking Tech. This is the Pre-MWC Lull. The name came around because, well, we are in the Pre-MWC Lull and the Post-CES Lull. Basically, the month in between CES and MWC, the month between CES and MWC is usually incredibly boring, as it has actually turned out to be yet again this year. But we have managed to scrape together some topics to have a podcast for you guys, because it's actually one of the good parts of my week. Joining me, as always, we have Mark and Chris.
Hello.
Introduce yourself, guys.
Hello. Fucking.
That is a great introduction you two did, like spot on.
It's January. What do you?
Yeah.
What do you want?
January is the Monday of months. So before
Quite
I want
literally.
to start this week, I want to remind you guys we are doing a Patreon, patreon.com/MobileTechTalk.
I actually forgot about that.
Yeah, so had I, but I was really I was going through some other well, let's try that again. I was going through some other folks' Patreon pages, and
And you're like,
I
we
remembered
have
we
one
had
of
one.
those.
Pardon?
You're like, oh yeah, we have one of
Yeah,
those.
yeah, we have one of those. We should probably pimp out on the podcast that we do every week, so people might give us some money. So, first off this week, we have the Honor 5X reviews have been published. I don't know if you two have read either of them. Have you?
Nope.
I have. I read a couple of them, and everyone's kind of meh about it. So
Just
the
quickly
5X
skim.
is. Sorry, what was that, Chris?
I say just quickly skimming through a review. That's what I'm getting. Meh.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you follow me on Twitter earlier in last week, I was taking excerpts from Android Police and their Honor 5X review, and I was just screenshotting bits and posting them on Twitter. And it could have been from almost any review if it didn't say Honor 5X. It could have been a review from anything with a Snapdragon 615. And it's hilarious how similar they all are. But because they're mostly American reviews, most of the emphasis I've seen for them is on how bad EMUI is, which, for better or worse, some people actually like it. I will give them. There are people. Like my sister, for example, has an Honor 6 Plus, and she actually.
To be
does
honest,
like a lot
there's
of them.
nothing so horrendous about EMUI that slapping on the new launcher doesn't completely cure. I mean, I've got the P8
Mhm.
slapped on Nova, and it's fine.
I mean,
EMUI
I'd rather they hadn't changed the notification shade, and I'd rather they hadn't changed the multitasking. If they'd left those stock, I'm pretty sure I could have lived with it. Like,
To be
I
honest,
don't
I
enter
find
the
it
stock apps that often. I don't enter settings, so I can deal with those changes. But like the notification shade changes and the multitasking changes really piss
Yeah,
me
no,
off.
so I'm kind of fine with them. I mean, they're slightly different, yeah, but they're not bad. They're just
I mean, it's
a little
it's
different.
not the aesthetics mostly that annoy me. It's the functionality changes that end up breaking things.
I don't know. I haven't found anything that's broken.
I mean, it's really trippy talking to you guys and then seeing someone live changing the dock. That it always freaks me out when someone is in the same dock as me. So yeah, the Honor 5X review. I want to say it's great. I haven't used one, so I can't. But it's essentially, and I've been
sure
kind of having this
it's
argument with a lot of
nice,
people lately. It's essentially an Honor 7. They've swapped out the Kirin 935 for a Snapdragon
That's what
615.
it looks like to me.
Yeah, they've swapped out the Kirin 935 for the Snapdragon 615, which is not an upgrade, it's not a downgrade, it's just a sign. It's
I
they're,
don't know.
they're
I'd say
both,
it's a down.
yeah. I mean, they both have their ups and downs. They both have lackluster GPUs. They both have lackluster image signal processors. They're both built on really, really bad 28 nanometer processors. I mean, look, I'm fine with 28 nanometer. Just make it good 28 nanometer. Don't make it 28 nanometer LP or anything like that. So
Yeah, no, I've always found the Kirin to be fine. Like you say, its GPU is not up there as top class. But so long as you're not trying to sit and play lots of 3D games, I've never had problems with it. So I would say that the 615 is a downgrade from the 7. Yeah, I would.
Okay.
I mean, maybe it's just on the P8 they've used magic sauce to make it all fine, but no, I've always actually been sort of quite impressed with what Huawei had done with that. If they just had a more pronounceable name, and if that thing had had a bigger battery, then I'm sure it would have done exceedingly well.
I find it quite funny that the way Honor is spelled is the Americanized version of Honor, yet it's only just launched over there. Like everywhere else, their Honor, they've still dropped the U, but they've not been in America until like this month.
I think as a company, they don't necessarily quite. I think many Chinese companies don't really quite understand Western marketing.
No, and like we said, I think it was last week. It's funny when you see Asian companies go to CES for the first time and see how extravagant they are, and then they come back the next year and they've reined it in, or they've completely done a 180 on their marketing because they can't do the exact same stuff as they did in their home countries.
No. In China, in the Far East, more is more. You want to have every imaginable bell and whistle. You want to have singing and dancing, and
That's why they have singing and dancing toilets. So going back to the topic of the Honor 5X, so it's essentially an Honor 7 with a Snapdragon chip. They downgraded the camera to a 13 megapixel, I believe, Sony unit, which leads me to believe it's probably an IMX 214. So the same thing as in like the Moto G, the Idol 3, the Nexus 6. And they've bumped the screen size to 5.5 inches up from 5.2. So apart from those like 3 things, of which only one of them is really noticeable, being the screen size, it's essentially the same phone. Like I said, the Snapdragon to Kirin thing is something that was bound to happen anyway, seeing as there isn't a Huawei phone with a Kirin chip in the US for multiple reasons. The output of the 20 megapixel camera and the 13 megapixel cameras are almost identical, especially, and again, if you're going to be uploading them to social media anyway, especially for some reason Instagram on Android, is going to compress the shit out of it, so you're not going to tell the difference anyway. So the only real noticeable difference is the screen size change. But, which brings me on to the second part of this topic, there is news of it coming to the UK. We don't have a price yet. We don't have anything. Supposedly, it's probably going to be cheaper than the Honor 7.
It should be. It's a lesser phone.
But again, the Honor 7 is regularly on sale from 250 to like 200, and I think it was Boxing Day. It was down to like 175.
Yeah, I don't know. For the 5X, I see kind of circa 150 range.
If it's 150, that is a phenomenal price. Because again, you're still getting the really fast fingerprint scanner. You're still getting a good screen. You're
That's
still
a lot of phone for 150.
Yeah, it is.
Well, I think that's
You
kind
look
of
at
what
the
Honor
Vodafone.
do, though. Honor come in and they don't do the most amazing phones in the world, but they come in at really great prices.
You look at some of the Vodafone phones though. They're about 120. What, the Smart Ultra 6? What's that? About 120, 125 quid.
Yeah.
For 150 quid smartphone, you can't really complain.
Put it this way, the Moto G is 150-ish.
Haven't they discontinued that good and proper now?
No, that's the E.
Or is that the E?
And I still think they're selling that, strangely enough. No, the third generation G, I believe, is 150, and then you can like jump up if you do Moto Maker.
For about 180, for about double the storage.
Yeah, which is the only one you should buy, really. You should not buy the 8 gig, 1 gig one. So, moving on. So, there is rumours that the Galaxy S7 is going to bring back the micro SD card slot.
Hallelujah.
Yes.
I don't actually care about all of this, but I know you two both quite like micro SD cards for different reasons. So I'm going to get a drink, and you two can talk about this amongst yourself.
Okay. I think I kind of dropped in last week at some point and said, I think that rumors say the S7 is going to have micro SD card slot. So, is it necessary? No.
No.
Do I actually use it in all of my phones? No.
If it's
do
there.
I just bloody want the choice? Yes. Yes, I bloody do. It's my phone, okay, and if I want to slap in an SD card, and I completely get the argument when people say, internal storage and SD card storage, totally different things. Internal storage, you need to be super fast for apps and shit to run. Fine, but you know what?
Super fast, as fast as eMMC can be.
Well, yeah, faster than an SD card.
Yeah.
But if you're just wanting to slap on a bunch of music or a bunch of movies,
movies
if you're
that are the
go
problem. Movies and TV shows, that's the problem. They're battery hogs.
But if you're going to be sat somewhere where battery's not going to be an issue, you're going to be sat on a plane or sat on a train for some hours, and you want to have a giant wad of storage, well, an SD card slot is a nice and simple way to do it. I want to have the option. I don't want, I might not add a card into my phone, but for fuck's sake, it's a tiny little damn thing. It's really bloody small. I want the option. And phones that don't have it, that for me is a big
turn off.
Don't like. Yeah, if I was looking at two phones that otherwise were the same, and let's face it, pretty much all the flagships from all the major manufacturers
are the same anyway.
There's not a great deal between them all. So, yeah, if one of them has an SD card slot and the others don't.
So, if I gave you the choice of an S6 or an M9,
I'd have the M9 personally. Mainly because
Chris, you're wrong, but I was asking Mark.
I was going to say I'd have the.
I don't know. There is pros and cons between the two.
Yeah.
The M9 is prettier, but the Samsung, it has an OLED screen.
See, I'd have
that OLED screen is.
I'd have the M9 on the basis of that I know the battery will last me longer than it will on an S6. And the thing I don't like about the S6 is its size and it's got a glass back on. One thing I said about the S6 Edge Plus was the glass back was a bit to me. I wasn't a fan of it.
See, I can live with the glass back because I've still got a Nexus 4 that, God, what is it, 4 years on at this point, is still not cracked. And I've dropped that thing. I think I've kicked it whilst I was drunk, and it's still.
I wouldn't break it, but
not the back.
I kind of like HTCs.
Kids, don't drop kick your phones. Huh?
Yeah. To be honest, I think no one device ticks every box that we all have.
But it can't.
None of them do. Exactly. But having a micro SD card slot is another box that I want ticked. And it's probably not going to be an absolute make or break feature for me. I mean, I still use an Nexus 5.
I was about to ask you that. What is your daily driver? Because I know you've got the P8, you've got the Elephone P8000, and some other stuff. I didn't know, and you've got the iPhone 5. I didn't know what you use as your daily driver still.
Nexus 5, it has the main SIM card. The P8000 has the secondary SIM in it.
And you've not charged the phone for 2 months.
No. Like they're they're right in front of me.
Yeah.
See the two watches? Yeah.
Is that two smartwatches as well, Mark?
Oh God.
Is that one for each phone by any chance?
Well, one for the Nexus 5, one for the P8000.
Oh dear Lord. Moving on.
I've seen it all now.
No, I'm calling it. Moving on. So, the fabled 4-inch iPhone rumors are back. So, in case you've been living under a rock for the last 2 years, Apple finally moved away from the 4-inch phone and went up to normal screen size, which is 4.7 and 5.5 inches. I can't believe I'm saying there's a normal now. Whatever. But for a while, there's been rumors of Apple returning to a 4-inch iPhone. And I was always like, meh, maybe they'll do it, maybe they won't. But, and also, I'm really sorry, the article I've linked here is actually, out of date now.
5SE.
Yes, yeah, it's being called the
name.
iPhone 5 SE, so like this, I think it's special edition. It's a terrible name, but it's going to be the size of an iPhone 5S, in the shape of an iPhone 6, with iPhone 6S internals,
Hmm.
with the iPhone 6 camera.
So basically, someone got super drunk.
More than likely, but apparently the more interesting rumor to me is they're going to discontinue the 6 and 6 Plus.
Yeah, that would be a bit more odd. But I don't know. Sometimes there's a great big overlap between what is rumor and what is people saying what they want.
True.
And I mean, there must be some people out there who do want a smaller phone. Like my sister the other day, she wanted a smaller, a phone that fit in her hand, and basically her options was, Z5 compact. So I would imagine there will be iOS users that want.
Oh yeah. But I know people that like the 4S because of how they like it because of the size. They're not a fan of the glass back on it because they've cracked it many times. But apart from that, that's the only problem they have is the back and the fact that iOS 9 is breaking it.
I don't think it's unreasonable for things to come in a small, a medium, and a large.
I mean, we also saw rumors of the Sony Xperia Z6 coming in like 4 variants. There was like a 4-inch, a 4.6-inch, a 5.2, and a 5. Whatever inch. So there's more than one apparently. I don't want to say this is total bullshit because A, we've got photos. They don't look doctored. And B, it's also coming from Mark Gurman, who has actually a really impressive track record when it comes to Apple rumors. Yeah, so again, looks like an iPhone 6S. The size of an iPhone 5S, internals of a 6S, camera of a 6. And it's billed as a cheaper iPhone,
not cheap, cheaper.
Yeah.
I don't think it's so much going to be about cost, unless
it's not. They're not going to market the cost. They're definitely going for the size.
Yeah, unless they're going to replace, the stupid coloured one. But yeah,
the rose gold.
No, the stupid plastic one.
5C. That's been discontinued, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I know people that have got the 5C.
Oh, there's 2 people in my house with a 5C.
So no, it's probably the device in the world I'm least interested in. So I've no idea.
Yeah. But the interesting thing to me,
the standard sizes that things come in human world is small, medium, large. So have 3.
Yeah, go for it. Like I said, the interesting thing to me is apparently it's going to have live photos, which is not interesting whatsoever. There was a terrible feature, I think. It's essentially like...
It's called a GIF.
Exactly. The interesting thing is it's going to support live photos without supporting 3D touch, which is interesting because the iPhone 6 does not have 3D touch and therefore does not have live photos. So unless Apple's going to say, we'll just long press...
It's going to be long press. It's got to be. It's the only other way.
I don't know.
Or to put a physical button, but that's not Apple style.
Yeah. Unless they do something like hold your finger on the Touch ID button. So if you press it, it goes home. If you double tap it, it goes to multitasking. If you double touch it, it does reachability. So if you just tap it for a few seconds, maybe it does a 3D touch like thing. Who knows? We genuinely have no idea. It's also supposed to be coming really soon, like March time.
That's it.
Yeah. So, there's nothing really to say apart from moving on. This is really odd because the link I have in the doc no longer actually links to anything, so the thing's been removed.
Yeah, I just noticed that. I thought I was.
Yeah, I just tried to open it and it's gone. Gone, Jack.
Pocket now.
I mean, the article is in loads of places. Basically, Samsung has been sued in the Netherlands for lacking updates. It's failing to deliver updates, especially security updates, to very recent devices. they also said something along the lines of stage fright isn't a real issue. It's like a scaremongering issue, and they weren't going to
Really?
bother.
No.
Pardon me whilst I choke on that.
Is just trying to scare people. No.
Did a good job then.
So, like I said, I find this highly hilarious. I've literally put woohoo next to they've been sued in the doc. It needed to happen. The state of Android updates is horrendous.
Kind of. I don't know.
This got marshmallow, by the way.
Huh? Yeah, that's in the doc for later on.
Yeah, that got marshmallow.
So sorry,
not
Mark,
that bad.
No, I have kind of mixed feelings about this sort of thing, because what I think really needs to happen with Android is it needs to become Windows. It needs to become, it just gets updates. It has nothing to do with who you bought the damn machine from. Like, you don't get Windows updates based on whether you bought a Dell or an HP or a Lenovo. Just comes from Microsoft, and that's it. Okay? And you deal with the drivers as to whoever, made whatever chips that's inside it.
But no carrier will do that. Weren't AT&T forced to do it with the iPhone, otherwise they weren't having the iPhone?
Just Apple said that that's how they're doing it, and that's that.
Yeah, Apple didn't give any leeway. It's not like, if you don't do it, we're going to go to Verizon. It was like, look, this is how it's done.
Who goes to Verizon, though?
Huh?
Who goes to Verizon, though?
Well, pretty much everyone, seeing as they're the biggest carrier in the States.
Yeah, but
sadly.
Yeah, I kind of think with this going into suing, what it's going to end up creating is what I think like Motorola have started doing, and having this sort of arbitrary 2 years
Mm-hmm.
A life cycle,
where they will provide updates for 2 years, and then at the end of that 2 years, and one day drop. They don't care about anything else. That's the tough shit. Buy a new phone. And I think suing is how you get a legal contract from a manufacturer like Samsung to say, okay, we will provide support for devices for 2 years.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. Though, I think we need to add some stuff in. Like, I'm fine with them supporting it for 2 years, 18 months, whatever. Support it for 2 years after the end of life date. Don't support it from 2 years to when it's gone on sale.
Yes.
Yeah, because 2 years from on sale, that's it, and you're screwed.
Yeah, no, that's how it currently is. It's like, oh, it's launched in March of 2015. Fine, March of 2016, no more updates. Yeah, as soon as the phone is end of life, that's when the 2 years should start.
Yeah, and the fact that we're all just Marshmallow is now gradually starting to filter out into devices, by which none of the devices I have run Marshmallow.
Really, that Nexus 5 isn't on Marshmallow?
It's not. It's not yet. It could if I wanted to make it, but
so you've got the option to do it.
But that's why you buy Nexus. So
yeah.
It don't count. They don't count. They're not real.
I was going to say, I was just double checking.
But none of the other phones have Marshmallow, and we're reaching the stage where the next one will be announced soon.
Mm. And that's a problem.
Yeah, it is.
I don't want to get too deep down this rabbit hole, because again, it's kind of like a topic all on its own. It's kind of like, if you've got a high-end Android phone, you can almost guarantee for the next 2 years you're going to get updates. You might not get timely updates, but you're going to get updates. Huh. Should it be better? Yes. Is it going to be better anytime soon? Probably not.
Next joke.
So, moving on, again, like, I feel so bad because like there's so many things that I've been like ragging on in this podcast. This next one is actually really interesting, or at least it is to me. So, Cyanogen has, let's try that again. Cyanogen mod is teasing its upcoming, I think, what do they call it? Protected apps. Yeah.
Something like that.
Protected apps interface. Basically, you can lock apps with like, a PIN, a password, a pattern, or a fingerprint.
Don't some Samsung devices do that?
Yep. So basically, if you want to hide, it was Japanese phones where you could hide apps. So they were installed, but unless you put in something, they wouldn't appear on screen. So, if you want to have, your secret Grindr account on there that you don't want the wife to know about, well, there you go.
I like I said Grindr and not Tinder.
Bad to say, as go for it.
He's not trying to tell us something.
Yeah. So, I don't know if it's a Google. No, it's a Sanjin employee called Adnan Begovic. Showed a small video of him protecting Play Store, trying to launch it, having to put his password in or fingerprint, going to Chrome, typing in an app that he knew would show up as a banner ad, install from the Google search, clicked install, and then because it was trying to deep link into Google Play, he had to put his fingerprint to launch it. Which it's good, it's extensive. Again, like a lot of things Sanjin does, it's really cool. My problem is, when you
use your fingerprint, does it have a backup password?
Yeah, it does.
That's all right. Just don't get a backup password.
My problem with this is, how long is Sanjin going to be interested in it? Because there's so many cool things Sanjin has done that they've kind of lost interest in.
The thing with when Sanjin comes out with these, I think it depends on what the community feels about it. If the community kind of runs with it and it's really popular, then these things, people will work on them, because there is people willing to work on them. Because I think a lot of what Sanjin does, they may now be a for money company, but I think an awful lot of what goes on in the background is pretty much on volunteer.
A bit like Linux distributions, a bit like Mint, Ubuntu. They're all a lot of that is community-based work.
Yeah. So things that come and go in Sanjin, it tends to be, well, that's what's popular.
Yeah.
If you look at the supported devices, like the BlackBerry Playbook, and there was some HP tablet that HP once sold for 20 quid to get rid of stock.
Oh, the touchpad.
Yes.
Didn't I
was so close to getting a touchpad, but I didn't. My payday was a day late, and I lost it. I was gonna buy a Pre-3 and a touchpad, and my payday was.
You probably were better saving the money, but those devices. If you go to Sanjin, they'll still be there. There will still be people working on them because they became the fun hobby devices for guys to play with.
The Asus Transformer pads, so the original ones with the little keyboard docks, they're still getting updates. I mean, the Flash is worn to shit, but they're still getting updates for the people that have them and don't want to get rid of them. Because again, they were inexpensive-ish devices that had great. Oh god, what's it called?
Form factor, specs.
No. Balls. There's a word.
They had great balls, they did.
They're definitely good balls. They had good value. There you go. That's what. I don't remember the word.
Yeah, value. when they went end of life, they went cheap as crap.
Yeah. So the Sanjin stuff. I'm always interested when it comes to Sanjin because they're a public company. Well, no, they're a private company with an official ROM that they sell to people, and then they still have an open source version that gets wacky updates and crazy weird shit all the time. And there are devices that come out with Sanjin OS that don't have Sanjin mod support, and there's some cool stuff on Sanjin mod that isn't in Sanjin OS, and there's vice versa. So Sanjin's a really cool, interesting company to me, and also their CEO says some weird shit all the time. Kurt McMaster says some random shit we're going to take Google away, we're going to take Android away from Google, we're going to put a bullet through Google's head, stuff like that. They say a lot of crazy shit.
A bit like you then when you're drunk, say a lot of crazy shit.
All the time. All the time. God, we're actually really blasting through these topics today. Next, this is kind of upsetting. It sounds like a big number on its own, but in the ongoing Oracle versus Google court case of whether or not Google stole Java, an Oracle lawyer kind of said in passing that they found out Google only made $31 billion in the lifetime of Android. So since 2008, Google has only made $31 billion on Android.
Nice.
Now that sounds like a really large number. until you realise that Apple made 32 billion on iOS in last quarter alone.
Yeah, but it's iOS.
Well,
That's a lot of money.
But those numbers are both lies, essentially. Because, one, you don't buy iOS. I mean, what does it mean, buy on iOS? Does it mean Play Store or the iTunes Store revenue?
I think it's every activated iOS device. So in the last quarter of 2016, every iOS device,
including the devices.
Yeah, it's not just iPhones; it's iOS devices.
Right. Okay.
So
well, then
You
straight
can't
away,
buy iOS separately.
Google don't sell devices.
No.
Personally. So
they sell the Google Apps suite to companies that pass their CTS and stuff like that. So
yes, but then
every Galaxy device, every HTC M device, every LG device, all of them, almost amounts to nothing.
You've got to also bear in mind, what is Google's main revenue source?
Ads.
Right.
And they make a lot. We also saw that number.
They do. Their primary goal in Android isn't to make money from Android. No. Their primary goal is to get the internet out there into people's hands so that people are using it constantly so that they can sell more ads. It's not to make money on Android.
Let's see. Revenue of 31 billion, profit of 22 billion. So
can I have a share in that, please?
Huh?
Can I have a share in that, please?
Yeah. If you want to pay, I think it was $750 per share at the moment.
That's not too bad.
It's actually one of the things I do have is in Google now. I have stocks set up, and I have all the big tech companies. So.
How sad.
Yep, terribly sad. Where is it?
I ain't got time for that. I don't even understand how they work.
Alphabet, $721.76 per share, which is actually down 0.5%.
Wow, 0.5%.
0.5% is a lot, man. That's
that's
$3.50.
But that's like a daily fluctuation. It's
yeah.
But yeah, to be honest, I'm surprised that Google really makes any kind of profit off Android because it's not what it's there for. It's there just to get more people. It's like when Microsoft started giving away Internet Explorer, is because they wanted people to get there out and use the internet. Because that's where
Internet Explorer was terrible.
Well,
and still is terrible in my opinion. Even Edge ain't that good.
I mean, the compatibility, there are still some sites I go to that are just broken unless you use Internet Explorer, which is very sad. Mostly education type websites as well. Pardon me.
Yeah.
Edge is good, but it still feels very much like a beta. There is a lot of stuff in Edge. I'm like, if only you put more attention into this.
Yeah, no, I don't like Edge.
Edge feels
it's going very sidetracked. But the main sort of point there being that it was a means to an end. Whether they made any money on it or not was beside the point. And I think that Google has made any money on Android at all is what should be more surprising than that it's only $30 billion.
I love how we all say, we all know it's actually a lot of money, but I love how we say only 31 billion.
Yeah. Could be more.
I think that's, I don't know, I think that's similar to what AMD is worth, I think, currently.
AMD is not the best.
Yeah, AMD has just been circling the toilet for so long. It's like if you want a study in how not to run a company, look at what AMD's been like for the last 15 years. Because
I mean, this last 18 months or so it's been slowly getting better, and slowly being the very operative word.
By better, you mean less bad.
Yes. Yeah.
Define
that's what better means. They're losing less.
But better means that somehow you think things are improving. It's just things are just getting less bad.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like to check that. As an AMD fan, I'll still be able to admit their faults, and they do have a lot of faults.
Yeah, I mean, fan of them here. I think they are a public service. We need them because God help us if there was only Intel I mean,
dear
we would
Lord.
still be running P4s. You know.
If we had
Yeah.
only Intel, we'd be spending more.
Oh yeah, we'd be spending £1,000 for a CPU, and it would be a P4 running at 2.5 gigahertz. It's true though.
Oh yeah, no.
That's what they would have us using if it wasn't for AMD. So I kind of feel as a public service.
AMD hasn't been competitive in the CPU space for near on a half decade at this point. If you look at the last 5 years of Intel,
at the upper end, in the mid and lower end, they're fine, and also for highly threaded applications, they're still pretty good.
Oh yeah, no. If you use a lot of threads, or if you are GPU accelerated, because the integrated GPUs on even low end AMD parts spank the Intel stuff. I mean, what is it? There is a high end Iris Pro, the i7 Broadwell, the 5575C. Is a Broadwell i7, so not the newest one, but it has an Iris Pro GPU. It runs like 65 watts. It's also more expensive than the Skylake i7, but it has an amazing GPU. That's only just better than the A10 7850K, or 7870K, sorry, which costs about $150, so about 120 odd pounds. Yes, it uses less power. I don't know. Last time I checked, it was between 100 and 120. But again, if you use a lot, if your workload is GPU accelerated or use lots of threads, AMD is the way to go.
And I also think if you're looking for a nice, simple, low-ish end little gaming, either laptop or desktop, getting one of the AMD, the inbuilt GPUs. Because the CPU is adequate, the GPU is pretty reasonable too.
Yep.
Great value, but fact being that if it wasn't for AMD, Intel would be screwing us.
Yeah, that was my whole point. When I said that AMD has been uncompetitive for the last half decade in CPUs, which is I think that's fair. I mean, they've had good stuff at the high end, or in the mid range, but at the high end, their highest end FX chips are still Bulldozer, which is two CPU revisions behind. So there was Piledriver, Bulldozer, Steamroller, and now Excavator.
Is it like machinery by any chance?
This one, this set of code names was. The new one is going to be called Zen, and that's coming out in the 4th quarter of this year.
Like I said, it seems like they're heavy machinery.
Yeah, again, that's just this architecture, and this architecture really was a bad point for them. They did a couple of missteps, so you might hear them being called like fake quad cores. There are 4 physical cores, but it's split between 2 modules. So each module shares a floating point unit and an integer unit. So it has to share resources, but it is actually 4 physical cores and 4 threads. Blah blah blah. Anyway, we're getting off topic.
So you're rambling now a bit.
Yeah, I mean CPUs is my thing. I'm really happy about CPUs, which is why I'm speaking to Josh Walrath from PC Go check out PCPer.com to do an interview on the state of mobile CPUs.
Do he pay you to say that?
No, but I wish he did. I'm just saying, like Josh, Ryan, any of you guys want to pay me? My PayPal's open. PayPal.me. I actually used PayPal.me the other day. It was really strange.
I can honestly say I've never used it.
It's essentially like your own PayPal. It's weird. It's like your own PayPal domain. So it's like paypal.me/mobile_dom, I think is mine. And you can say I'm paying a friend back or I'm paying a company. And then if you're paying a friend back, it doesn't charge you any tax or anything like that. And
isn't there an allowance to get your money back out your PayPal account?
Probably. I don't even know where I was going with this. Yes, no. Mobile SoCs are really interesting, and if you really want to tie into the AMD stuff, AMD has a custom ARM V8 core in the works called K12, which is supposedly going to be pin compatible with Zen and AM4, which means, in theory, you could buy an AM4 motherboard with a low-end Zen chip, and then if for whatever reason you wanted to, you could drop in one of their K12 CPUs and run Android or Linux. because you obviously couldn't run Windows on an ARM chip. Chris, I don't know why you're zooming in on yourself.
Yeah, hang on.
So, moving on before I go any further down this rabbit hole, is the last, or not the last one, because Chris had one in.
There we go. That's better
the Snapdragon 820 is using Samsung's 14 nanometer LPP, which stands for Low Power Plus, processing node. It's one of the few people that Samsung is licensing it out for. It's really interesting. But now we're hearing rumors of the 830 coming out next year using Samsung. So the Snapdragon 830, which is unannounced, is supposedly using Samsung's 10 nanometer node, which is also unannounced. We have no idea what it's going to do. It's apparently going to be a refined Cryo cores, which is the custom ARM V8 64-bit architecture that replaces Crate. I hope it's better than what they're currently doing. Qualcomm has a weird way of doing things. They do custom cores. They don't always do great. So Crate was amazing. Crate took everyone by storm. Crate was one of the few knockout architectures, I'd say, in both desktop and in mobile. But I don't know if either of you two remember Scorpion, which is the core they used before Crate. Scorpion was terrible. Scorpion had asymmetric cores, kind of like Big Little, except the coherency between them was terrible. They could never get the scaling right. But again, Crate was amazing. And then they moved on to standard ARM cores, the 64-bit. And again, I think the move to 64-bit took everyone by storm because they were like, oh shit, people actually want this, or they want this. So everyone used stock ARM cores. Even ARM rushed out the 64-bit cores. And we now know that was a bad idea because they've essentially replaced those two. The A57 has been replaced with the A72, and the A53 has been replaced with the A35. My voice is going. So I want to know how Cryo performs. I want to see it in a shipping device. I don't care about seeing reference devices because those are being made by Qualcomm. They can optimize for the best possible scenario. That's not what I want to see.
And by optimize, we mean they can basically lie.
I mean, they can lie, but they can also make the thermals. They can make that chip run as hot as they want because it's a one-off design that's never going to go anywhere. They can make it 6 inches thick, or they can literally put a slab of copper that's an inch thick inside the device to suck the heat away. It's their own device. It doesn't matter. If you look at the Qualcomm phone reference devices, they literally are like the size of this bloody cardboard. They're massive. But Cryo does look cool. From what we've seen, I need to see it in a shipping device. I don't know what we're going to see from 10 nanometer. We're only just jumping into 14. Then again, everyone else is kind of late to 14 nanometers. Intel is kind of a year ahead of everyone else. 14 nanometer is not the same, or 14 nanometer Samsung is not the same as 14 nanometer Intel. Intel has spent a lot of money on this. This is also Intel's 3rd generation FinFET. So their first one was 22 nanometer Haswell. So they kind of saw 20 nanometer being a bit fucked up and then made the jump early. I don't know if you remember, Samsung and TSMC tried to do 20 nanometers on planar, which is how we got the Exynos 5433. And, oh, actually, there you go, the Snapdragon 810. They're all on 28 nanometers. They're on 20 nanometers, and we saw how badly they scale. So 10 nanometers is going to be cool. We know absolutely nothing about it. So it's all speculation right now. It's coming from WCCF Tech, so they kind of report on anything and everything, and they update or they change the articles all the bloody time. Any of you two got to say anything about it?
Nope.
No, pretty much. It's when it actually starts turning up in devices, then we'll see how good it is or not. Because at the moment it's, as far as I understand it, everything's completely unconfirmed, and so it's all rumors about the new shiny thing that might be new and it might be shiny.
Yeah,
So
no, I think
it might be shiny.
in the comment section, it's like someone said this almost reads like one of those Illuminati conspiracy posts where it's like X, Y, and Z may possibly be doing ABC if like ZY6 aligns with blah blah blah. It's like they're right. This does sound crazy when you dissect it, but it's almost. I don't want to say like we know it's going to happen, but they have roadmaps. Like we know Intel's going 14.
Well, we know a new Snapdragon's coming. We know that there is going to be die shrinkage at some point.
Exactly, and
we just
always
don't know if it's going to be good or crap.
Exactly, we don't know any of the characteristics. We don't even know if they're going to stay on silicon much longer. I mean, don't get me wrong. They're going to. I think they're going to go to 7 nanometer on silicon, only because going below that is going to get horrendous. So, moving on to the last one, I'm going to let Chris take this because I really need some water or something. My throat is going. Chris, take it away.
Yep, so a couple of weeks ago we said about the HTC M8, the unlocked versions were due to get Marshmallow. And I obviously have an M8, as I think everybody knows I have an M8. And just the other day, when would it have been? Last Wednesday, so Wednesday just gone, I received several, I think 3 updates, and I was like, okay, I'll install these. So I installed them. No Marshmallow. Yeah, I was a bit gutted. Well, it turns out they were true to their word, and then out came Marshmallow. So I do have Marshmallow running smoothly. The only thing I can seem to say is that I think the battery life is taking a bit of a little hit. But
I mean, that tends to happen just after an update, though.
Yeah, I think that tends to happen.
Around for a few days.
But no, let me find it. I'm still unfamiliar with this. But no, it does. Here we go. No, whoa. But no, it does have it, and it does run. Absolutely. There we go. Let's just see.
You guys turn your brightness down, mate.
No, it will. Oh, I can't even remember how I turn the brightness down. There it is. Proves how often I do it. Let's have a look. That way. Where is it? I can't even see it. Focus.
Pull back a little.
It is there.
I see it.
Yeah, it is there. It's running Marshmallow with 7.0, and it does perform great. And I don't know if people have seen it on Twitter, but the one thing I now like is when you pull the notification shade down, you now get, let's see if I have a try again, you now get told when your next alarm is next to it, which I think is super useful.
I think that might be a Marshmallow thing. I don't know if that's an HTC thing.
I think it's a Marshmallow thing. And I do also have a quick toggle for the flashlight now, which is something that I always wanted.
Did HTC not have that before?
Not that I could find. I had to install. No, I didn't have. Did I have to install that? No, there was an app, but it was labelled flashlight, and it was on like my third page, and it used to just piss me off. So
fair enough.
But no, I do have a firing. This is flashlight.
Whee! So quick thing. Have you used Now on Tap yet?
I activated it accidentally. I forgot it was there, and I just accidentally done it. I've had a brief, and now let's find something on how to do it.
I mean, whilst Chris is looking for it, I'm going to say I have 2 devices unofficially running Marshmallow. I have a Moto G 2013 on CyanogenMod, and there is a AOSP ROM on my Nexus 4, both of which had Now on Tap turned on, and both within 24 hours had Now on Tap turned off. It takes away the old swipe up to Google Now.
Wow.
Yeah, like I use that a lot.
Oh, that's
to be honest, I've kind of completely stopped using Google Now, and it kind of happened without me realizing it. And at some point, they seemed to have taken away all the Now cards and replaced it with wanting to search. And it's that's not what I wanted Google Now for.
No, I mean, my Google Now has things that it's learned about me and things I've manually entered. it got really good about learning for a while. I think it's strange enough, when I had a job and I could buy a lot of things online, it got really good at learning about me.
Yeah, it does work. Yeah,
But
I've loaded up Craig's email about Gadget Show Live, and it goes Gadget Show Live, and it gives me a Google search, the Facebook page, the Twitter page, and the website, and a couple of other things that I'm not sure are relevant, but I've not read the email to check.
Yeah, no, I found that was all sort of getting too much clutter when it starts saying, this news story, you might be interested in it. And it's like, well, yeah, I might be, but it's I don't want it here.
I think the interesting stuff for me is if I turn the brightness on this down, if it's going to work or not. There you go. It shows me birthdays of people on Google+. So it's Luria Petrucci's birthday, which is Callie Lewis.
But that's dependent on people actually using Google+.
Yeah, it is. Like weather, again, I use stocks, so I've got a load of stocks put in there.
Weather is useful, and I think they've updated weather as well to give it a more marshmallow feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that was just me.
I found myself using Google Now without opening Google Now. So I use a lot of the
for me.
No, not. I use a lot of the back end stuff. So if I'm on my laptop in the Chrome Omnibox, I'll say, remind me when I get home to get ready for the podcast. And as soon as I walk through my door, a notification will pop up that says get ready for the podcast.
I'm not that advanced.
Or if I'm
really clever.
Yeah, and if I'm like get shipping notifications.
But how stupid do you feel telling your watch to remind you of things? Because that's the issue.
No, see, it doesn't feel weird to me because I tell people to remind me all the time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but
I have such a bad memory.
Different.
I'm constantly telling people to remind me things, so it doesn't feel any weirder telling my computer or my watch.
Yeah, I can't, especially if I'm like, in public. I cannot talk to my phone or my watch and tell it something. It's like, no, you just should type it.
Yeah, I do.
I just feel silly.
Which again, I love the integration and the tightness of Chrome and Android in certain aspects. There is just some, again, and this is one of them. It's being able to open up my Chromebook, open up a new tab in Chrome, and type in the Omnibox, remind me to start cooking dinner when I get home. And again, I walk through the front door, or say like at 7 p.m. remind me to tell Mark he's an idiot, and then like as soon as it hits 7 o'clock, it's gonna say like remind Mark he's a dickhead. Like stuff like this is.
I like how you. There's one thing I just noticed in what you said. You said remind me to tell Mark he's an idiot. Then you said and then it reminds me to tell Mark he's a dickhead.
I mean, Google Now is very sassy. I also have the worst memory known to man, as I just said. So
clearly demonstrated.
Yeah, so my main point with this is, whilst I love Google Now, I really hate Google Now on tap. It either never worked, it never gave anything interesting, and it took away the swipe up to Google Now, which is so useful.
I think I can still do that.
No, it's tap and hold down.
Oh.
And the only way to get it back is to turn it off.
Well, I very rarely used it.
So yeah.
That's annoying. I would have liked to have both.
I mean, and there seems to be no reason why you shouldn't have both.
Oh God, no.
Because again, a lot of the time I want to go to Google Now, I'm not actually searching for anything. I don't want it to see what I'm currently doing. I just want to check my stocks, or I want to check the weather. I don't want it to scan what's on my screen and tell me who Aziz Ansari is. I know who Aziz Ansari is. That's why I'm looking at some of his stuff.
Isn't he a comedian?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, you're on about the same one I'm on about. I think he's quite funny.
Yeah. So we're done with the news, and we're actually like quite good for time this week.
We're bombing it. We've only nearly an hour, 55 minutes.
Looking in the topic, I've got one thing. So next month, so about 3 weeks or so, we have MWC, Mobile World Congress in Barcelona.
Barcelona.
Pardon me. There are things we know are going to be announced, and there are things speculated to be announced. I want to ask you two what you're most interested for at MWC.
I haven't really looked into it. I haven't really looked.
Ah, you guys, you're killing me. It's not like it's not like we
same.
write for a smartphone site.
Well, again, at this point, I always kind of get so annoyed with the rampant speculation, because lots of the speculation is people just voicing what they want to see.
Yeah, it's a bit hard to tell.
And it's not that there's a rumor. It's like every year there was bloody rumors that there's going to be a Sony Nexus because people wanted one. You know, there was no
still want a Sony Nexus.
Yeah, but it's the way that there was a rumor every single year that there was going to be, because that's what they wanted.
And the only time that ever stopped was when we saw the Z Ultra Google Play Edition.
Yeah.
Which, if I'm not mistaken, Casper Tech or Taylor Martin had one and then managed to damage one of the SIM card pins.
Not one, all of them.
All of them? I thought he only damaged one of the pins.
So, okay, we don't know...
I don't know what's rumoured and what's people want.
What do you two want to see at MWC? We'll start with Mark.
Bigger batteries. I want to see a nice high-end phone with not ridiculous specs. That means 1080p screen at most. Anything more than that on something you hold in your hand is just ridiculous. And I would like to see a big, gigantic battery. Preferably, I would like to see something in the 4.7-inch range screen size, but with a big, giant, kick-ass battery.
So basically, you want a Z3 compact with a 1080 panel and a giant battery sticking on it.
I could live with a 720p screen on it, but I would like it to have a big, giant battery, preferably one that's removable, which I know that's not likely to happen, but, you know, I'd like that. And if we're going with outlandish wishes, I'd like an OLED panel on it, and I would like
stock Android in the process.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, as long as it's not completely dicked around with.
The smallest 1080p AMOLED panel I know of is 5 inches. All the others are 720.
Yeah, to be honest, I can live with the 720.
720
my daily phone is the
Lumia
7-inch Idol 3. I have access to other devices. I have access to 1080p devices, and I come back to this because it fits in my bloody hand.
Yeah, I mean,
this is too small. I want bigger.
No, the Lumia 735. I mean, like, I have to say, I do love all the Bing images they do.
Oh, they are really nice. I have them on my 935.
You know, it's a 720p screen, and it looks great. I do not look at this screen and go, oh, it's only 720. Oh no. I couldn't possibly look at that.
I don't think I've looked at any screen and gone, it's 720, I can't deal with this.
I have a very adverse reaction to anything under 720p.
Oh god, yeah.
Actually, no.
Is that because it's under 720, or because at that point price is such an issue that it's a shitty panel?
No, actually, I will retract what I said. I have a issue with anything under 720p over 4 inches. So like the Moto E with a quad HD display, a quarter HD display, not quad HD, which is 960 by 540. That's not an issue. No, sorry, it's an IPS display, nice viewing angles, blah 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 blah. But because it's 4.3 or 4.5 inches on the newest one, it's a rather low pixel density. So 720p is kind of as low as I'd want to go if it was my personal phone. I could go back to 4.5 inches again quite easily. That's also what she said.
I can't go back that far.
Really?
Yeah, no. I have to say, this like form factor wise, I very much like. It fits great in my hand. I like the screen. If this thing ran Android, right? If this thing ran Android, it would be like it'd be such. It'd
be his daily driver.
Like these two,
Probably,
one of them is 4.5 inches and one is 4.7 inches. And the bottoms are like identical here. So the increase in size is minimal. But so given the choice, I'd go for this one. It's newer and I haven't worn the battery and the flash out. But like size-wise, I could go back to 4.5 inch 720p as well. Like
no, 5 inches is as small as I'll go.
So you want this one?
Size queens.
There you go. This is the newest Moto G, which I still haven't gotten around to getting a new back for, and I've actually really gotten used to the yellow back.
It doesn't look too bad, actually. Did you not have to send that back?
No, this is my unit now. My original Moto G, because I've got a bamboo skin on it. By the way, I really hope D-Brand get this bamboo back in, because this is really nice. It's like hot pink.
That does. I got to admit, that shouldn't look nice, but oddly it does.
Yeah, no, it does. I was so close to like getting a white back and transferring it, so bamboo and white looks really nice. And I kind of never got around to it, and then I just kind of got used to having the hot pink, because I had it for like 9 months on its own.
It looks oddly nice. I shouldn't say that, but it does.
No, I totally get it. I shouldn't like it as much as I did. I think it's why I'm also all right with having a gold Idol 3. Because again, I stopped seeing it, and when I notice it, I'm like, well, I've survived 6 months now, so what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
It's why I love all those ones that have like replaceable shells, except they're usually really shitty quality, so it's like I don't really want to
shell out money.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I have to say again, going back to the 735, replaceable backs.
I mean, and the official Nokia or Microsoft replaceable backs are really good.
Yeah, I mean
they
do. I mean, they do not feel like a cheap plasticky. It just feels like it
feels like one piece.
Really great. Yeah. Well, I mean, I remember back when it was first launched. Journalists, because obviously they were welded to things, they were just declaring it was a unibody phone because they didn't know.
Because you couldn't feel the difference.
Yeah. It's like what? See, I mean, it's things like that go to show you can have replaceable backs, replaceable batteries, all this kind of stuff. So I mean, why do other companies like Samsung, like Apple, like the rest of them feel this overwhelming need to seal it backwards?
Yeah, I don't know.
Space,
I can't. I mean,
there isn't just because when the battery dies we have to buy a new one.
I mean, that's probably something to do with it. So, Chris, what are you most looking forward to, or what do you want to see most at MWC next month?
Similar to Mark, bigger batteries, because let's face it, they're throwing more features to a phone. Batteries are slightly becoming a problem, as demonstrated with the S6 was one of the ones people knows for having a terrible battery. I don't see the point of anything over 1080 because it's in your hand.
At a certain size.
At a certain size. I don't see the point of anything over 1080 because I suppose an iPad you could kind of put in a 4K screen, but I don't really see the point. It's still a bit, but no, I wouldn't. So 1080, 720, they're probably going to be that's probably going to be the sweet spot. But
or what if we just had same kind of phone? It comes in 2 versions, one with the 720 screen, one with the 1080, and just say to consumers, hey, you want the one with the lower res screen? It's 50 quid cheaper.
Yeah,
that'd be
essentially what Sony was doing until this year, where they put a 4K screen in one for whatever fucking reason.
Yeah, why would you put? I don't see the point of these super displays.
I don't see the fact that it annoys me when people saying like, oh, it's not a 4K phone. No, it's a 4K phone in the same way your 5K iMac is 5K. It's not running at 5K all the time. It's running interpolated 2560 by 1440 because otherwise the GPU would kill itself.
it takes Suicide Squad.
Yeah, it's that. I'm so looking forward to that film.
I didn't even know that was a film.
I'm fine with it being a 4K phone. I'm just annoyed that they restricted certain bits of it. Anyway, so again, you kind of wanted more battery after this year.
The only thing I would say is bigger batteries could cripple portable battery manufacturers.
Oh God, no! No! They're going to be around for a long while.
But they're going to be. If they were slowly getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, I could possibly see them crippling them, but I highly doubt it.
Honestly, good. It's an industry that shouldn't exist.
Well, portable batteries.
Yeah, we should not.
Yeah, it was an industry born out of necessity because we got a bit insane.
It's it's an industry. It's like like cancer care. It's something. No, the problem you would rather have eradicated. You screw the keeping the treatment industry around. You want the problem to be gone.
Yeah. So what I want from MWC is I want to see a lot of good mid-range phones, because this year we're going to. Huh?
This year, last year, or however you want to call it, there wasn't much in the mid-range category.
I'd disagree. I'd say the mid to low end stuff was more exciting than the high end for me personally. I think it might be because I reviewed a lot of them, but so when I say mid to low, I mean like Snapdragon 400 type. So we had the Idol 3 in 2 sizes. We had the Moto G. We had the Honor 7. We had all of these things in the sub £300 and most of the time sub £200 range. And we had the Wiley Fox devices, which are just phenomenal value for money.
I think you'd buy one if you had the money. That was the impression I got.
That's probably the Storm is probably the only Snapdragon 615 phone I'd buy. And it had other issues. Mostly the fact it was a minuscule battery.
Wasn't the Swift the one that had the dodgy USB port?
Yeah, the Swift had the recessed USB port, but the Storm had a higher resolution display, a higher end. It was a Snapdragon 615 compared to a 410, but it had the same battery. It had the same 2600 mAh battery, and the battery life on the Swift wasn't spectacular either. So
to me, the new standard for batteries in phones is about the 3000 mark.
Yeah.
That's where, to me, that should be like the baseline on bigger phones.
Yeah. So what I'm looking forward to, MWC, but mostly I just mean this year overall, is more Snapdragon 650, so 650 and 652 devices. And I think this kind of solidifies what I've been saying, is the 808 shouldn't have been an 800 series chip, and the 615 just shouldn't have existed. Because the 650 is essentially the 808. It's 4 A53s and 2 A72s. So the 650 is going to be faster than the 808. Because reasons. But also, I think what I'm looking forward to is seeing like the really low-end stuff. So the MediaTek stuff coming out of China with Cortex A35s. Which is like, I think it's 80 or 90% of the power of an A53, but like 50% less power. So we're going to see crazy cheap devices with like quad-core 8-core, 1 gigahertz processors. And again, they're not going to be terrible, which is a trend we're seeing a lot of. I think it was MKBHD that said, good phones are getting cheap and cheap phones are getting good. And I agree with that 100%. You too?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, like for most people, I could give anyone in my family a Moto G, and they would be like happy. The higher end one. Like I said, could it do with a higher resolution, or could it do with a better screen? Yes, it could. Could it do with slightly better materials? Yes. But it's not a horrible experience, and that's the important part. The overall package, the quality of the overall package is getting better each year.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be from the likes of Motorola. I think this year is going to see more of the likes of Elephone, of Blue, of Alcatel, of...
See, that's what's interesting to me, because we're supposed to be seeing the Idol 4. The Idol 4, I believe, is meant to have a 650 in the the smaller one, and a 652 in the bigger one. If I can, I'm going to get both of them again. And unless they pull some crazy shit with the small one again this year, like making it 8 gigabytes. Don't worry, it's not 8 gigabytes anymore. I'll explain that after.
Yeah, did anyone figure out what the hell they were doing and why they did the...
No one knows why, but my guess is it was cheaper to use the same chip and then just lop half of it off in software.
Yeah, I don't see the point. Why didn't it just be
Then it was to source and implement 8 gig dies.
It just seems madness.
It is absolutely pure madness. So I'm looking forward to seeing 650 and 652 devices, and again some more MediaTek stuff, because MediaTek is one of those companies that's quite interesting. They've kind of replaced TI-OMAP, except for the bit people loved about TIOMAP, which is the fact that they were open and you could develop for it. MediaTek devices are very closed off and hardly ever get updates. But they're everywhere. If you remember, like 2012 era Android, everything that wasn't a Snapdragon was an OMAP. Straight up. Because OMAPs are cheap, they were plenty powerful, they were everywhere. They just had the added benefit of being almost completely open source. So you could do. I mean, there are still people doing Lollipop and Marshmallow ports for the Galaxy Nexus, and the Barnes and Noble Nook stuff.
Oh,
yeah, like people are still doing that stuff now, which wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for the fully open source nature of these chips. So, unless you two have anything else to say, I think we're going to sign off.
I was just going to mention what we've got coming up.
Yeah, sorry, I totally missed that on the doc.
Yeah, so I was doing that as we were going along. So I have got coming in from Vodafone again, a HTC A9. That should be with me Friday. And I also, whilst looking online, I decided to pick up a desktop charger. So this is one from Rav Power. I'm not sure what it is. All I know is a 40-watt 4-port USB charger. So I brought it. Might as well review it. Why not? I might do a follow-up to the M8 running Marshmallow.
Yeah, we'll speak to Craig about that. Sounds quite interesting, actually. How a 2-year-old flagship
copes with a new OS. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I mean, if anyone still had a Galaxy S5 with Marshmallow, that'd be an interesting comparison as well. Yeah,
that would be interesting. And I know that went live today because I scheduled a tweet last night, so I wouldn't forget. A good tweet deck is extremely useful. I forgot about that. I've just done a Linux Mint review, and in short, if you've got an XP machine lying around, or even something running 7 or 8 or 10, and you just want something different, install Mint. Just whack it on and use the live distribution, not the live image, whatever you want to call it. Run it live from the USB. But I actually quite like it and was a bit sad to have to give the netbook back. I kind of wanted it.
No.
I'm looking on eBay for some. I'm looking for one to come on at the right price. Then I will buy one again, just because I enjoyed it that much.
The world of like open source and like live distributions really intrigued me. For a while, when I was like 14, I remember like blowing our download cap on just downloading ISOs and burning them to disks. And my dad was like, "What the fuck have you been doing?"
That's
like,
the thing I didn't.
Look at all the OSs I've got. I used to go to oh god, I don't even remember what the website is anymore, but it has like a rank of the most downloaded. Distro Watch. I used to go to Distro Watch and download the top 10, and then
I tell you what, I'm trying to get to work, but not had much luck. Mainly because I think it's because I don't have a USB 3 drive. It's Remix OS.
I want to try Remix, but I really can't be bothered to wipe that blood. This poor USB 3 drive I've got, it's the fastest drive I've got, because all my other ones are USB 2. I've had Windows on it, I've had Elementary on it, I've had Ubuntu on it, I've had so many stuff on it. Every time I like wipe this flash and install something from new, I'm like, I feel so sorry for you, man.
But no, I might try and contact John and see if they'd send us a Remix Mini, but
you can try, but from what I've heard, it's a piece of shit.
I've heard mixed. Some people say it's good, some people say it's bad, but that probably won't be till a lot later in the year.
Yeah.
But no.
So, what was that, Chris?
But no, that's about it. I'm going to try and find something to experiment with Remix because it sure as hell looks interesting.
Well, like I said, if I get around to wiping that USB stick, I will try it and I'll tell you how it goes.
I might even just virtual machine it, depending what mood I'm in.
Yeah. I don't know. I might also try.
I wouldn't VM it. That'd be super slow.
Anytime. I've got a couple of old laptops that came out of my parents' attic, so they're kind of sitting in a bag.
Stick Mint on them.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't even know what spec they are.
I was quite surprised how well that netbook performed. I mean,
Yeah.
I was not expecting much, but I got
Linux
a lot
can be
out of it.
very, very clean and very lightweight and feel
It
very
felt like.
snappy.
I'll
And
tell you what you want. You want crunch bang. That's essentially just like DOS.
Oh,
It's like
no.
command line only. You want crunch bang.
No, I
no.
hate command line for everything it's worth.
Yay!
I gave up with the
absolutely
Ubuntu install because I could not be asked to command line it.
Man,
Yeah,
you kids
command
these
line
days.
is awful, awful, awful. If I have to use it, it's just like that's it. No.
That was my Ubuntu story. Had to use command line. Fuck it.
I think last time I used command line on Linux was when I was trying to install Handbrake, and the install was just completely messed up. So I had to fix the download repository in command line, and I almost messed up something. I almost essentially messed up upgrades completely. I spent a good 2 hours trying to fix this download of Handbrake, and in the end I gave up.
Okay, I have a dare for you. Should you be willing to accept the challenge?
Oh Lord!
And this is primarily aimed at Dom. Gentoo. Install Gentoo on the computer.
No, I've done this before.
Come on,
No.
you're saying you like command line.
No.
Stop
Installing Gentoo is like torture. It's a very specific form of torture that you'll probably be able to find on some parts of the internet, but I would not recommend looking. So, before we say anything else we're probably going to regret, I'm going to wrap this up. So this has been
Talkin Tech on 3 Gentoo users.
and you know they're going to try and DDoS the site.
Yeah.
And again, I'm going to shut up. I'm going to shut up before I say something. So you can find us at www.mobiletechtalk.co.uk. I am at mobile_dom on Twitter. Mark is at Mark2410. Chris is at ChrisWallace959. We are at MTT Feed. You can get us at www.mobiletechtalk.co.uk. Instagram is MobileTechTalk. Facebook is MobileTechTalk UK. Google Plus and YouTube, just search for MobileTechTalk because they won't give us a fancy URL yet. And last but not least, Patreon. Patreon.com/MobileTechTalk. If you give us money, we can make better shit for you. That should be Patreon's tagline. Give us some money and we'll make good shit for you. So until next week, this has been Talking Tech.
How do you define good shit?
Better than free. Slightly higher quality than free stuff. So until next week, this has been episode 11 of Talking Tech, the Pre-MWC Lull. I am Dom. This has been Chris and Mark. And until next time.
Next Monday.
Next time.
I thought it was next Monday.
I mean, whatever. Next Monday. Goodbye.